Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to my coverage of SpaceX's launch of the SAOCOM 1A satellite. This is launching from California tonight, so if you're on the West Coast, you need to step outside in about 31 minutes or so. There is going to be an amazing spectacle. There's going to be something so cool tonight because in California, if you're in Southern California, hopefully tonight you might catch what's known as a Twilight Phenomenon. And now get ready for floods of UFO reports. This is so cool. This happened last year, about the same time last year. But basically, if a rocket takes off just about 30, 45 minutes after the sun is down or before the sun rises, and the rocket goes up, it gets high enough that it's actually illuminated by the sun again. And not only the rocket, that's no big deal, from 200, 300 miles or kilometers away, you normally wouldn't see that anyway. It's a teeny little speck off in the distance. But the exhaust plume is freaking huge. And especially in California, the sun sets to the west. So that means if you're in California and that exhaust is hitting the sun, it's backlit illuminated. So all of a sudden, it looks like it's just unbelievable. Super cool. I'm super jealous. I should be out there right now. Not only is that going to be freaking awesome and probably making half of the West Coast panic despite all of the, alerts to say don't panic. This is also going to be the first time SpaceX attempts to land their Falcon 9 booster back on land in Vandenberg, where this is taking off from. So they have a new pad called LZ4. They skipped 3. There's LZ1 and 2 on the East Coast at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. The third one is probably going to be an eventual contingency pad, and or if they ever do a 3-core return to launch site landing for their Falcon Heavy, it would need 3. So then there's probably 3 out there. I don't think they want to go 1, 2, and 4 out there. That's just my guess. And also, the launch pad it's launching from is called Slick 4E. And technically, I believe they're actually calling the landing pad also Slick 4W. So they're considering it a pad because it is a landing pad. So let me show you something, guys. And Kurt says, Tim, it's LZ4 because it used to be Slick 4. Well, it is still Slick 4. So maybe that's also, why it corresponds with LZ4. Let me teach you guys something. I'm trying to get you guys in this habit because they get the same questions asked every launch. Boom! Here's a little website called everydayastronaut.com. Sounds weird. If you look at it, if you go to the pre-launch previews here, you get a rundown, an actual countdown timer on every upcoming launch on the manifest, even past launches. If you want to know something about these past launches, you can go to this. Boom! It tells you we have 28 minutes until this rocket takes off, and you can hover over it and look. You can get your time, the local time, and all that stuff. So it's pretty darn slick. Then you click on the mission. Now check this out. This is, I feel like I'm like one of those old salesmen. It's like, and if you are something, it looks like my website's currently bonking. That's always fun. But I feel like one of those TV salespeople. It's like, and if that's not enough, we have something else. But check this out. After this eventually loads in 10 hours, I'm going to tell you why it's so cool, and that's because you can get just the simple facts about everything. For instance, this booster is being reused. This is the second flight of this particular booster. And of course, all these Block 5 boosters we hope to see eventually flying like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before they need serious refurbishment. So far, no Block 5 boosters have flown more than twice. No orbital Falcon 9 boosters ever flown more than twice. So hopefully we see that soon. Hopefully that happens really soon. I think my website may have just full-blown crapped the bed. Hey, there it is! You just have to talk about it defecating where it sleeps, and then it pops up. So here's the deal. Boom, liftoff time. And this is subject to change, but tonight we're still on schedule. So like I said, there's about 20, 30 minutes left. SAOCOM 1 satellite, the payload the launch company is SpaceX. If you haven't heard of them, welcome to my obsession is rockets, and SpaceX is the most prolific launch provider, so they're currently flying more than anybody. So get used to seeing that. The customer is the CONAE. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it, but it's the it's for Argentina's space agency, which is awesome. This is basically going to be an observational satellite. It's going into a polar orbit, so it goes north-south, which is why it's launching from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Launches that go north and south, they go straight south it's on the little crook of California. Here, let me pull up the old Google Maps, and by Google Maps, I mean an actual globe. Let me do this even. I will ambigify the screen here for a second. Ta-da! So here's California. This is a place where people live in the United States of America. And if you are trying to get a satellite to go north and south, or in a polar orbit where it basically goes over the poles, you can't fly a rocket over populated areas because they're still pretty risky. There's still a not zero chance of it just exploding randomly, right? You don't want shrapnel falling over Los Angeles or Orlando or something like that. So they have to fly straight south. So they basically launch right at the tip here. There's a little boopity boop, and they go boop straight south. So that means that Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, San Diego, all those places are going to get a pretty great view of this tonight. Like I said, that Twilight Phenomenon. That's why it's launching from Vandenberg. That's how all those polar orbits are. So it's an Earth observation satellite. Let me bring this guy back up. Ta-da! It's a small satellite. It's only 1,600 kilograms. That's 3,500 pounds. They are, again, landing the first stage back at the landing zone, LZ4. And this is news to me. Mr. Steven didn't leave the port? Did I know this? Is John, who runs this portion of the website, is he more up to date with this than I am? Guys, help. Discord channel. Oh my word. No fair recovery tonight. No. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold still. No, that was it was going to be the trifecta, Twilight Phenomenon, booster landing back at the launch site. No. John Eric, well, thank you for being way more on top of things than I am. Oh. Okay, so there's not going to be a fairing recovery attempt this evening. We'll just say poop. So, will there be a second stage recovery? No, they haven't started playing around, to our knowledge, of recovering second stages. 62nd flight of the Falcon 9 rocket. This thing's getting to be a pretty big legacy rocket at this point. 17th mission for 2018. That's insane. This will be the 30th successfully landed core. 16th time they've reflown a booster, so this is becoming super normal. Remember when the first one, SES-10, in March of last year, will it work? What... They're reusing it. What if it blows? Everyone had all these panic moments thinking, what if this doesn't work? But their mantra was of course it'll work. Why wouldn't it work? We got to check it over. Normally a rocket, you don't get to test it. This is the ultimate test. So of course we know it works. It flew once already. You wouldn't question whether or not an airplane works because it's flown twice now. That's kind of their mentality. And now it's starting to become true. It's pretty normal. So, yeah, there we go. This one did fly on the Iridium 7 mission, was the last time it flew, which is cool. So there we go. We'll have their stream pulled up here in a second. Pretty exciting, though, still. Very exciting. And first off, real quick, thank you to... Ooh, man, you guys are ahead of me. So, W. Tay Moss, thank you so much for your generous tip. And Arthur Adams, Space Camp 1988 grad. That's awesome. Speaking of, I think I'm going to Space Camp in 2.5 weeks. For that Nat Geo series Mars, for the second season coming out. They're doing some promo stuff. They're flying me out to Space Camp, so I think I get to share my experiences of how awesome and ridiculous Space Camp will be. I will definitely probably turn into a 6-year-old and run around with the other potentially 8 to 13-year-old children, and I will be probably no more mature, although much greater athletically abled than all of them. I will smash their faces if it's some kind of athletic competition. But it'll be super fun, so stay tuned. If you're not following me on Instagram, Everyday Astronaut, just whatever if you go on Twitter, find me on Twitter. If you're on Instagram, find me on Instagram. I hang out there a lot. So, Footy Nut Guy, 3 a.m. here in the UK. Will this look like the UFO? It sure might. The UFO you're referring to, at first, thank you. You're referring to the big old blob that got painted in the sky about a year ago. It should look almost exactly like that. So, we'll see. We will see. Alberto Pia, also thank you very much for your tip. So, there's a nice website called everydayastronaut.com. There's a place called Prelaunch Preview where you could get all the information you need about the launch. Well, thank you, Seth. Gosh. It is one of those nights. Mary, hi Tim, have fun at Space Camp. You worked there for 2 summers in college. Awesome place. That's way sweet. I can't wait. I've only walked past it really quickly in Huntsville, Alabama. Like, you know, you can kind of see some of the windows and stuff looking down in there. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I hope that's fun. So, Jay Blackett wants to know, Tim, when's the next launch? You must be freshly tuned in because look at this. I already told you how you can find out for yourself. Pre-launch previews by everydayastronaut.com. So if you go to, again, my website, everydayastronaut.com, I do have a pre-launch preview section. It'll give you a list of all the upcoming scheduled launches that are currently, that have dates known. There's a lot more. SpaceX has like 100 launches on their manifest. We don't have dates for all 100 launches, but there's, of course, more to come. And at this point, anything beyond about a week or two is just speculation anyway for people on most flights. So, I mean, I don't plan a trip around a rocket launch unless we're within like a 2-week window, because otherwise it's like, no thanks. Yeah, my site is currently very slow. I'm sorry, we're probably getting a little bit slammed. I do apologize for that. But, yeah, nevertheless, how is everybody tonight? What's new? I've been watching this show called The First on Hulu. I cried my eyes out for a bit today. Oh my gosh. It's about the first people going to Mars. It's not, spoiler alert, it's not that much about like the mission itself per se. It's a lot of character development, and holy cow, is it really good. Stick with it if I think I'm on like episode 7, and it's really, really, really good. A-Train! Hey, Tim, will this flight count towards the NASA certification of the Block 5? Adam, Space Camp Year 1, Week 4 grad. That's awesome. Sweet, thank you. Thank you, Adam. So, overall, the Block 5, excuse me, I don't think it's flying until, I don't think it truly counts as those frozen, it needs to fly 7 times with an upgraded COPV in it. And the COPV is the thing that is inside the fuel and the oxygen tanks of the vehicle. In both stages, there's like tons of them, and it's a composite overwrapped pressure vessel. So it's basically like an inconel, I don't know how to say that, a metal tube with really, really, really tightly wound carbon fiber to keep it so it can hold tens of thousands of PSI in it, or an insane amount of pressure of helium. And they had an issue on September 1st, 2016 with a COPV where it experienced an unknown failure at the time that no one had ever experienced, because SpaceX uses super chilled propellants, and it actually did cause a buckling and a failure of one of the COPVs. NASA said, before we put humans on these things, we want to make sure these COPVs are safe. So SpaceX apparently has developed a bulletproof COPV. Sounds like they went to the ends of the earth to make that thing crazy, crazy, crazy durable. It has not flown yet. We're still waiting on that. From what I've heard, COPV 2.0 will premiere on the DM1 mission, the first Crew Dragon mission. At least that's what we're hearing. So, yeah. Check SpaceX Twitter. That's never a good thing. Maybe that was about the thing. So, Peter, is Space Camp a thing for Jeffrey Tripp? I sent you a 2012 parody video of NASA bashing. Thank you, Jeffrey. Check SpaceX, check Twitter. NASA bashing SpaceX. Okay, I will have to watch that, Jeffrey. That sounds really funny. I see what you mean now. I sent you a 2012 parody video of NASA bashing SpaceX. Check Twitter. I will check Twitter afterwards. Thank you. That sounds really funny. But don't forget, guys, NASA and SpaceX, they very much work like this. They are not competitors. NASA is a biggest customer of SpaceX. They've awarded billions of dollars worth of contracts to SpaceX to make sure SpaceX does what they do. So, so don't forget, guys, I want to make sure people understand the role NASA has today. It is changing a little bit, maybe a little bit changing away from some of the manufacturing and the prime contracting of rockets, but they're still extremely important. They're the ones that, SpaceX looks at them for a lot of certifications and expertise, and their knowledge pool about how, like things like the Pika X heat shield they originally got as a patent from NASA, and obviously the X is because SpaceX has continued to evolve it, but they're standing on the shoulders of giants for a lot of their knowledge and research. So let's not forget that. Just a friendly reminder. And while we're talking about friendly reminders, if you guys ever are correcting anyone, I'm talking specifically about my community. If you're a fan or a friend, or you watch some of my videos and you feel so obliged to ever comment, please be kind to each other. I cannot believe how insensitive some people can be towards other human beings on the internet. We are all in this together. We're literally on the same planet here. So don't forget that people if someone's wrong about something, politely remind them and cite your sources, and don't get into these like really petty fights. I read like every comment, and it gets, most of the time, guys, you guys are amazing. I wouldn't be here without your support and your when people are like, Tim, thank you, that means so much. But when people are just like insanely insensitive towards other people's either differences in opinions, or when they're insulting about someone's maybe a fact wrong, I might say, for instance, who knows, maybe someday I'll accidentally say prograde instead of retrograde in a video and have to hear about it 200,000 times. Wouldn't that be terrible? Just a friendly reminder that everyone's human and to love each other. And we're all hanging out. We're all trying to learn together, because I'm still learning every single day. Trust me, this stuff is all crazy. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Sorry, guys. Kelly BT, love your videos, man. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I need more space. Will you see the first man in IMAX? I am at Air and Space. Jealous. That sounds incredible. Unfortunately, I think I'll be out of the country during the premiere, but maybe if it premieres internationally, I think it's like the 12th or the 11th it premieres, maybe there's a chance I can go and see it with some friends in another country that I can announce really soon, where I am going tomorrow. I leave tomorrow. I still haven't wrapped my head around that. I'll tell you where. It's really fun. C. Rafiq Ali, SpaceX launch day isn't complete without some everyday astronaut. Love you, Tim. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And AMG Wagon, got to show my love for your channel. Thank you. Well, thank you, AMG Wagon. I'm glad you're around. I really appreciate that. Any updates on Dragon 2 test flights? That's a great question. So the update right now is that the DM1, the demonstration mission 1, for Crew Dragon, won't be until January now. It kind of got pushed back. Elon mentioned December. A few weeks ago, when he did the Dear Moon announcement, he kind of casually mentioned we're looking at DM1, the first test flight of Crew Dragon, to be December. It now has been pushed to January. So put your patience pants on. If those of you that were waiting around for Falcon Heavy last year, you might be familiar with what that's like to be like, yeah, they're going to for sure launch it by the end of 2017. And then all of a sudden it's January, for sure January. And then all of a sudden, okay, February. Like, just, yeah, anything new like that, double it. And so when they say, 6 weeks, make it 12. When they say 1 month, make it 2. That's just kind of my general rule of thumb. And that's kind of with any space, anything. So, yeah. Plain Nerd PDX. Hi, Tim. What components of the BFR will be failsafe? Do you think it could experience a jammed fin or an undeployable canard and still land? I'm worried that a failure of any new components would cause a loss of vehicle. That's a really good question, Plain Nerd PDX. Because an airplane can function with several failures. Even a dual engine failure, a plane will still function. It will still be able to glide. It doesn't just fall out of the sky. It physically can glide for a decent amount of time. As long as it doesn't lose, it can even lose like hydraulics and stuff for a decent amount of time. There's a lot of things that would need to go wrong to make an airplane totally go bye-bye. That is obviously a huge concern. There's a lot tighter, basically, restrictions on what can go wrong with a rocket. So I don't have the direct answer of like, well, they will be doing this, which will then make it so it's redundant. Like if they lose a control surface through reentry, if it gets jammed up or something, maybe they'll have enough margin of RCS, of reaction control systems, thrusters, to be able to compensate for a certain amount, but beyond 12 degrees, it'll, who knows? I don't have the answer to that. I would hope that we're just getting into an era of engineering that reliability can become more predictable, more data, more, I don't know. That's a great question. Just fingers crossed. I don't know. I don't have a very good answer for that, other than that's definitely a concern, especially no launch abort on BFR and BFS is a huge concern for me. So we'll see. Three-sided coin. I'm sorry, Tim. The LES should have fired the first. I couldn't buy it. Wait, the LES should have fired in the first. Oh, the launch escape system should have fired in the first. I couldn't buy it and took me out of the scene so hard. And a coin, really? I think that'd actually be possible to destroy that. Oh, you're right. Sorry, you're talking about the first. I was thinking about the First Man, the new movie coming out. Okay, yes. Those two things totally distracted me. It's kind of like The Martian, where The Martian's failure and the reason, I better not talk too much about this movie or about this TV show. But remember how The Martian, there was a big Martian storm that was threatening to tip over their Mars ascent vehicle, and they had to therefore get off the planet right away before the storm tipped it over. I accepted the beginning, the premise right away, as an acceptable, like, you know, sure, like I'll give that to him. The rest of the stuff is really well written, so keep with it. I promise. The emotional baggage and the writing of the story is amazing. SpaceX is live. Oh, hold on. It didn't auto refresh for me. Let me give it a go here, guys. Sorry. I was going to say, why is it still counting down? Do they have two? It still says... I don't see a stream. They both say live. There we go. There we go.
Will provide
we have it! Sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry.
And also assist with rapid response during natural disasters. SAOCOM 1A will also be the biggest antenna in space for a civil mission. The second nearly identical satellite, called SAOCOM 1B, will be launched in the near future, also aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Today we'll be launching SAOCOM 1A into low Earth orbit, and the satellite will be deployed just over T plus 12.5 minutes into flight. With the launch coming up in just about T minus 10 minutes, let's take a closer look at the capabilities of this satellite.
So I'm going to go ahead and take this time real quick. I do kind of want to have this up on screen and kind of looking at it here. But sorry about that. Apparently they had two links for live streams, and the link I had wasn't refreshing for some reason, or wasn't live. So I do apologize that we missed some stuff here. I'm glad you guys are still here. Thank you very much. Also, I need to say thank you to Eduardo. That means a lot. Thank you very much. And History Soup will BFS have dedicated cargo versions? Yes, because they're going to be sending BFS and BFR vehicles to the surface of Mars without people on it first. So that would be I don't know if, and they also have that one that like opens up like a gator. I'm sure that will be a dedicated, you know, payload carrying vehicle only. So I am pretty sure they will also have dedicated tankers. So there might be 3 small variations of it, you know. So so thank you. And Julian, wow, as promised in your last video, here I am to see the release. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That's awesome. I really appreciate you coming back. That's awesome. And Kamad Jack, where do you get those planet orb things? These are from MOVA globes. If you go to my website, everydayastronaut.com, I have a partners thing, and I have a link to these MOVA globes. So check that out. Oh, there we go. Hey, no problem, Julian. Well, thank you very much. And Hal, SpaceX is live. Thanks for the news. Thank you again. Mig Wheels, SpaceX is live, bro. People are losing their minds in the comments. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Luis, it's not much, but it's at least something. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. The Rich Father, thanks for the stream again tonight. Tim, you're welcome. This is one of my favorite things to do. I still get excited every single time. Tyler Hillard, go Tesla. Absolutely. For those of you unaware, I did finally, after 2 years, 5 months, and 7 days, took delivery of the Tesla Model 3, a performance version, and it's the greatest thing in the world. I can't even tell you. I had expectations after waiting 2.5 years, expectations up here, and it met and exceeded those expectations. I'm not kidding. Yes. So thank you. And Derek, how do you think BFR's habitable section will mitigate radiation and protect from micrometeors for us future Martian travelers? I think the biggest thing about radiation is bad, but even like a normal non-heavily shielded craft going to Mars for 9 months is like just above like the probability of cancer of a smoker. Like it's not insane. It's bad. Like no, you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to do it, but at the same time, like just without any shielding, it's not terrible. So actually, if you waters, I'm gonna listen.
We'll be attempting the first ever land landing back at Vandenberg Air Force Base. In order to accomplish this, the first stage executes a series of 3 engine burns: boost back, re-entry, and landing. This animation will give you a better idea of exactly what that first stage is going to do. So right now you can see the first stage ascending into the atmosphere, carrying the second stage. At about 2.5 minutes into flight, that second stage pops off, and the first stage executes a boost back burn to come back towards the pad. It then executes an entry burn to slow itself down, and then finally, in conjunction with opening its landing legs, it comes down for a landing burn right over the pad. Land landings have a number of advantages over water landings. First, they're not subject to ocean storms that might affect the drone ship. And secondly, landing on land significantly streamlines our post-launch processing of the recovered first stage. With landings, we're able to refurbish the boosters right here at our facilities in Vandenberg rather than waiting for the drone ship to return all the way back to port. These types of efforts support our future goal of a 24-hour turnaround from landing to reflight. The ability to land rockets back on land at Vandenberg has been made possible through our recent Block 5 upgrades, including increasing the rocket's power so the vehicle is able to propel itself all the way back to land after accomplishing its primary mission. If successful today, this will be the first land landing of a Block 5 vehicle. To enable land landings, we also had to create a new landing zone, LZ4. You can see in these shots exactly how close to the launch site that landing zone 4 pad is. Work began on LZ4 back in 2016 and took about a year to complete. The site actually has an interesting history. Space Launch Complex 4, or SLC 4 for short, which is the entire thing you can see on your screen right here, was originally 2 separate launch pads, SLC 4 East and SLC 4 West. That first flew the Titan rocket family before being taken over by SpaceX. SpaceX refurbished SLC 4 East for the first Vandenberg Falcon 9 launch back in September of 2013, which is actually the first SpaceX flight that I saw as an employee. The other pad, SLC 4 West, has now been reconstructed as LZ4 to receive the rockets that launch literally right next door. Of course, both launch and landing pads are both clear of all personnel in the hours leading up to the launch. Now, it's important to note that regardless of how many successes we have, landing a first stage, much like launching the rocket itself, is always a very challenging task. Furthermore, because this is the first time we're landing the rocket back on land at Vandenberg, right next to the launch pad, this is an especially tricky one. Our most important objective tonight is to deliver the satellite SAOCOM 1A to orbit, but landing a first stage would be a significant achievement as well. If all goes well, we should be able to bring you live video coverage of the landing attempt as it happens.
I love that. I love return. This is definitely going to have that Twilight Phenomenon.
We are now just under 5 minutes away from the launch and still tracking no issues. At about T-minus 4.5 minutes, coming up very shortly, that transporter erector, the tower standing right next to the rocket, sometimes referred to as the Strongback, will begin to retract away from the vehicle. The Strongback's job is to transport the vehicle from the hangar to the launch pad and lift it to a vertical position, retracting just prior to launch. Inside of T-minus 90 seconds, you'll see a large plume of gaseous oxygen venting. This is just a normal part of the LOX bleed-off process. And then, finally, at about T-minus 60 seconds, you'll hear the launch team call out Falcon 9 is in startup. This indicates that the Falcon 9's internal flight computers have taken control of the countdown. Just in summary, the range is still giving us the okay for launch. The weather continues to look beautiful. In fact, most of the SpaceX team is either outside of our headquarters or at Vandenberg itself to watch this beautiful launch tonight. As a reminder, if anyone calls for hold in the countdown net, we will have a backup launch opportunity on Thursday at the same time. Like I was saying, we are monitoring no problems with upper level winds or ground level winds, and there is not a cloud in sight. So with just about 5 minutes until launch, with just about 3.5 minutes until launch, let's listen into the countdown nets as we approach T-minus 0.
Yes, now don't forget this Strongback out here on the West Coast. It doesn't throw back like the ones do on the East Coast. This is still the old design, so it only retracts to 77.5 degrees, I believe. And it stays there. At T-minus 3.5 minutes, it does that retract. That does mean it requires more refurbishment because it can't get out of the way as much. So, you know, the rocket as it takes off will kind of pummel, you know, all that exhaust is going to end up, you know, basically like blasting the Strongback. Out of the East Coast, you'll notice both of those pads retract really quickly, and it's really cool. They get themselves further away from the exhaust plume, further away from the damage. That's very good. And don't forget my friendly reminder about the what looks like smoke on screen. This is normal. This is condensation. The rocket is so cold, if you went up and touched it, like if you licked this right now, your whole like face would probably freeze solid. There is like minus 207 degrees Celsius, super cooled liquid oxygen in the vehicle. This thing is so cold, it's just pouring off condensation. As water vapor in the air comes in contact with it, it does condense and turn into water vapor. And you just see all this condensation, or all the condensation pours off. And you might notice streams of it. That's where they're purging. As oxygen does warm up, it turns back into a gas and needs to be purged because it expands a lot going from a liquid to a gas. and you'll see it come out just so that it doesn't overpressurize the tanks. This is all normal. These things are almost living, breathing creatures. They'll be super cold until the super hot, lighty, go boomy thing at the bottom creates a fire that's so crazy strong exhaust out of one end. Will be very hot, so it'll experience within a very close region of each other. A lot of hot and a lot of cold. So, yeah, so first of all, so back to the shielding really quick. I do need to talk about that with the BFR. The one thing you can definitely do is you can have like your water tanks be in a circle, and if you're inside like a tank that's full, like the walls are all water, where you'd store your water, that can act as like a solar shelter for radiation. So it's hopefully not too bad. Mike, thank you. Love the videos. Keep the great work. Thank you. G, Mayrank, thank you. I don't know quite what that says, but thank you. Wayne, thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad I can be here. SPFLSU. Tim, do you think the Falcon 9s could be used as boosters for BFR, or is it just too many engines to light? It's at this point, when they're starting fresh, they might as well just make a bigger rocket or make the 12-meter version with the 42 engines. Strapping boosters on, especially if you're trying to recover them, is no easy feat, as we learned with Falcon Heavy.
Go for launch and landing.
And landing! Sweet! That's awesome. Peter, Tim, SpaceX webcast is live, seriously. I'd take a vacation to an adult space camp. Join me. It might be awesome. Who knows? And also, thank you so much, Thank you. All right, let's tune in here, guys. T-minus 20 seconds. Yes.
$15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Green
2,
flash. There it is.
1. Ignition. Liftoff.
Yes. Okay, get ready. Southern California. You're about to see a show.
Clear the tower.
Oh, it's a beautiful shot. There's no fog at Vandenberg. This is a first.
Stage on top's nominal.
Yes. Yes. Get ready, guys. This is going to be an action-packed return to launch site, Twilight Phenomenon. This is going to be amazing.
Power and telemetry nominal.
All planetary stations are receiving.
You're looking at the Falcon 9 rocket as it ascends through the atmosphere, carrying the SAOCOM 1A satellite to low Earth orbit.
Vehicle supersonic.
Right now, the vehicle is passing through max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the airframe. The vehicle actually throttles itself down for this portion of the flight in order to reduce structural stresses.
There it is. See how the exhaust is getting illuminated? Or maybe not yet. Maybe that's just going through that condensation trail where it...
Altitude 30 kilometers.
For those of you just joining us, we did have a successful liftoff from the pad at Vandenberg Air Force Base at 7:21 p.m., just as expected.
Yes.
Coming up at T plus 2 minutes and 19 seconds, we're going to have a series of 5 events happening all very, very quickly together. That's going to be main engine cutoff, stage separation, second engine start, boost back burn start, and fairing deploy. It's going to happen really fast, so let's watch the views we have on your screen.
100.
All right, get ready.
Coming up in about 10 seconds.
I think it's getting illuminated already. The second stage will have a really beautiful plume. Okay, here we go.
Nico.
And there you have it. We had a successful main engine cutoff and then a good stage separation of that first stage. You can see the second stage Merlin vacuum engine lighting up right now, heating up and preparing to boost that payload the rest of the way towards its intended orbit.
You can already see the exhaust in the right-hand screen.
You should see that fairing deploy on the right-hand side of your screen right now. And there it is. Good fairing deploy.
Fairing separation confirmed.
So
Oh,
right
that's
now,
so
what you can see is two separate views. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the that's a view from the top of the first stage of the Falcon 9,
I noticed you can
currently
see the
executing
sunset
a
down there
boost back
still.
burn.
Oh,
This is a shot from the ground as we can see it here in California.
yes.
And on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see the bottom of the second stage as its Merlin vacuum engine continues to push that SAOCOM 1A satellite into low Earth orbit.
Stage 1 boost back is shut down.
That second stage will continue
Yes.
burning its Merlin 1 vacuum engine all
See
the
the
way
RCS
until
firing?
10 minutes into flight.
Those little RCS pods are adjusting its orientation and its exact trajectory, aiming it directly back at the landing pad.
What you're seeing
Those
on the
puffs.
left-hand side of your screen is a beautiful shot from the ground in California of the exhaust gases of that first stage.
Specifically the RCS, the nitrogen cold gas thrusters. There's 2 packs of them up in the
Viewers in
interstage.
California may be able to see this from outside.
Oh, that's so cool.
You can see the grid fins on the side of the rocket have extended.
That is beautiful. Hang on. I'm going to grab something here. So right
Those
now we're
puffs
looking.
of gas coming from the rocket that you can see from the ground are the reaction control system on that first stage as it maintains its attitude coming back down towards the pad.
So the right camera, you're seeing the upper stage like this, and you're just looking at the engine. There's cameras mounted right here. On the
The
first
boost back
stage,
burn is now complete from that first stage. The next thing coming up at 5 minutes and 56 seconds will be the start of the entry burn. This entry burn happens just as the first stage hits the thicker regions of the atmosphere, so it can slow itself down and avoid damage to those 9 Merlin engines, which are entering first into the atmosphere.
That's so beautiful. Okay, so this is the first stage.
Periodic bursts from those cold gas thrusters on the side of the first stage.
And we're looking down at like this, and we're seeing, you can see those little cold gas thrusters there. These are the grid fins. They deploy out. We're looking down the fuselage, and they're about to light up 3 engines here when it reaches that entry burn portion, and we will very much see that. Oh, this is going to be some of the most spectacular images SpaceX has ever recorded, I bet right now my friends controlling the video right now are probably crapping their pants at how beautiful this is. Oh, that is so cool.
So for those of you just joining us, we are currently following the first stage as it heads back towards the LZ-4 at Vandenberg Air Force Base on the left-hand side of your screen, and on the right is the second stage of the rocket as it continues to ascend towards low Earth orbit. There it is. That's the start
Stage 1
of the entry burn of that Falcon 9 first stage.
I'll bet LA is crapping their pants.
This
right
burn
now.
is only about 30 seconds. Right now, that first stage is mostly empty of fuel, so it's actually pretty light. Doesn't need that much force to slow it down.
And it slows down just to survive hitting the atmosphere right now. Notice its altitude. It's 30
Stage 1
kilometers in
entry burn
altitude.
is shut down.
And that looks like the shutdown of the entry burn. You're getting views both from the top of the Falcon 9 first stage as it comes down through the air, and also from the ground, visible from California.
The sonic boom won't be audible in
Stage
LA.
1 FTS is safe.
Just like they aren't audible when it's out in the drone ship landings. It's too far away. Sonic booms don't carry that far. Maybe.
Seeing that the sun is now
100
below the
kilometers.
horizon, we probably won't see much more of the first stage until it lights up its engines for the final landing burn. That's going to happen at T plus
Stage
7
1
minutes
is
and
transonic.
14 seconds. So coming up almost in about 5 seconds now.
Oh, baby. This is spectacular.
There it is. That's the start of the landing
Stage
burn.
1 landing burn has started.
It's probably going to be really easy. Probably just a single engine landing burn since it was such a light payload.
That Falcon 9 first stage should be approaching the ground just about in 5 seconds here. Let's watch as it attempts to land.
Oh, this is gorgeous.
Stage 1 landing burns at deployed.
Yes.
LZ-4, the Falcon
And it appears that the Falcon 9 first stage has just stuck the landing at LZ4 at Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Yes!
This is great news for everyone here at SpaceX. Reminder that this is the first time we've ever landed a rocket first stage back at Vandenberg Air Force Base.
Yes!
Great news for everyone here. We're all extremely excited. Like I said, most of our team is at the launch site right now, and they must be out of their minds. So
yeah, if you notice,
that is awesome.
Really quiet
right now,
headquarters.
however, that is not the end of our mission today. The primary mission is still ongoing. On the center of your screen, you can see that Merlin vacuum engine attached to the second stage, still pushing the SAOCOM 1A satellite into low Earth orbit.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
We're going to continue thrusting that Merlin vacuum engine until T plus 10 minutes and 8 seconds, when that second stage engine will cut off. That's an event called SECO, Second Engine Cutoff 1.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's sonic boomed for sure. Someone was asking.
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
I'll get to that answer here real quick. Three-sided coin. There's been 11 land landings already. Yeah, Falcon Heavy had 2. The first one was OG2,
Once
December 21st,
SECO happens in about
2015.
45 seconds, the next big event is going to be payload separation, happening at T plus 12 minutes and 39 seconds.
Andrew, I already have a video all shot, ready to go, and how they recover the fairings. So as soon as they do, I'll edit in the footage and get it out, hopefully that same day. So yes, and I've been sailing on a lake, but that doesn't count.
Second stage engine cutoff coming up in 10 seconds.
So thank you guys. And Harvester, no problem, my pleasure. Go space!
And there it is. You can see that second stage engine has shut down. We're now waiting confirmation that the stage is in a good orbit, exactly where we intend it to be.
Sweet.
Good.
And we have confirmation of a good orbit. This is great news. That means that there's only one more thing we have to do in order to get the SAOCOM 1A satellite to its destination in orbit, and that is payload deployment.
Okay, so we're just waiting for it to coast up and get its orientation correct.
Right now, the
Then
SAOCOM
let
1A
go.
payload is attached to the top of the second stage with a payload adapter fitting, which is holding on by way of some clamps and some small springs. When we give the signal to release the satellite at T plus 12 minutes and 39 seconds, give or take, those clamps will release and the springs will give the SAOCOM 1A satellite a gentle push away from the top of the second stage.
So nope, those aren't bubbles. Those are chunks of solid oxygen. And you can see they gather on the ports where they're, it basically as the stage
on your screen right now, you're looking
done,
from the
it
top of the
vents out
second
all of its
stage
oxygen.
towards the SAOCOM 1A payload. That deployment's going to be happening in about 50 seconds, 50
you can
seconds.
see it venting. And those are little hunks of ice. And you can see it builds up even at the port where that ice is ejected from. Someone, Baker 805 watched it from the front lawn. Bubbles in the water tank, says Gang of 4. Yeah, and that's, that has nothing to do with the, 10 million people in Southern California that just witnessed it launch live with their own eyeballs. Forget that. Forget that. Oh, man, these are cool pictures. I can't wait to show you guys some pictures that people are bringing into my Discord channel.
Stand by for satellite separation in about 10 seconds.
Here we go. Hopefully.
And there it is. You can see on your
Spacecraft
screen
operation confirmed.
the SAOCOM 1A satellite gently gliding away from the top of the Falcon 9 second stage. This is fantastic news. This means that the SAOCOM 1A satellite has been put into its correct orbit, and the mission of the Falcon 9 is complete. So with that, we are going to be bringing the webcast to a close. Just a reminder, this was the fastest turnaround time for a West Coast relaunch, just about 2 months from landing to relaunch. To summarize what happened here today, we did have a good launch at 7:21 p.m. from the pad at Vandenberg Air Force Base. We then had a good ascent, and the first stage returned all the way back to LZ4 for a beautiful shot. As you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, that Falcon 9 just completed the first ever land landing on the West Coast for SpaceX. After that, we had a good boost into orbit by the second stage, and finally a successful spacecraft separation for the SAOCOM 1A satellite into low Earth orbit. With that, we'd like to thank our customer CONAE for tonight's mission and their great support. We'd also like to thank the U.S. Air Force for the range support, as well as the Federal Aviation Administration. Continue to follow us on SpaceX.com for future missions and milestones, as well as our Twitter and our Instagram profiles. And if you are as excited as I am and as we are here by what you've seen tonight, and you want to join our team, please visit SpaceX.com/careers to learn more about working at SpaceX. Thank you to all of our viewers for your continued support, and please have a great night.
Awesome. I'm sticking around for a bit. We got lots of questions to answer. That was a really short one, so that's nice and easy. I'll go ahead and do this here. So first off, big thank you to all you guys for tuning in. This stuff means so much that you guys are here asking questions. I can't even tell you. I do want a really quick friendly reminder before we move on. If you want more of what I do, I'm actually now part of a podcast. The link's in the description. It's called Our Ludicrous Future. I joined up with two other YouTubers, Joe Scott and Ben Solons from Teslanomics, and Joe Scott from Answers with Joe. We talk about space and future technology and Tesla, things like that. If you want to listen, you can find our YouTube channel. It's Our Ludicrous Future, or check out our podcast. We're going to show you guys a lot of pictures from tonight's launch. It looked amazing. There's already pictures flowing in from our Discord channel. So if you want to be part of our exclusive Discord channel, consider becoming a Patreon. Patreon.com/everydayastronaut. That's the reason I can afford to do all these cool things. Like really cool things. Like I've been out to SpaceX twice in the past month and a half. It's all thank you to my Patreon supporters. So if you guys want to help support what I do, help me keep going, help me get better equipment, go out to launches and all that stuff, consider becoming a Patreon, patreon.com/everydayastronaut. So thank you to those that do support. It means the world to me. So let's see. Discord. I love you guys. So I'm going to pull up some of these pictures, but I actually better real quick mention all these people. Holy cow. So 3-sided corners. This is the first return to launch site of a Falcon 9. No, this is the 12th, I believe, landing on land. All the other ones were at LZ1 and LZ2 for Falcon Heavy, on the East Coast. So no, it's not the first return to launch site. And actually the first landing ever of a Falcon 9 was OG2. So that was booster, what was that, 10/21? And that was December 21st, 2015. So since then, they'd landed 10 other times till tonight, making it 12 altogether. So yeah, woo! Return to launch site landings are awesome. Harvester of Sorrow, absolutely love SpaceX. Oh yeah, I think I read that already. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. Thank you. Maybe I didn't say that one. Miles Miller, does the venting from the engine impact the orientation of the second stage, and do they correct it with RCS? That's a really good question, Miles. So if you noticed, I happen to have kind of this like still frame up still. You know, there was puffs coming off after second engine cutoff. As the stage is coasting, you do see like puffs of purging. They purge the oxygen out of the tanks. No big deal. But you might ask, does that affect the orientation? You know, because it's almost like a little thruster. And the answer is yes, it does. And do they need to account for that with RCS? I'm not positive, but I would assume they actually do have to account for that. And RCS is reaction control systems. Those are those cold gas nitrogen thrusters that shoot cold gas to orient the vehicle. As a matter of fact, a good story of this, there was a satellite once where the gyros or the RCS, gyros I think died. Oh, guys, I hope someone knows what I'm talking about. Please, Discord, come through on this and help me with this. I believe the gyros died. Speaking of gyros died, we have some news. Oh, no. We have some terrible news to explain. But speaking of gyros dying, one time there was a satellite that had a shutter mechanism or some kind of mechanism that flapped up and down. And every time they tried to take the picture or a mirror or something, it would affect the orientation and therefore make the images blurry coming off the sensor. And so they figured out how to exactly time the exact right amount of RCS in order to calibrate to cancel out and negate any of the movements with the freaking like shutter mechanism. So crazy, so cool. People out there are so smart. I wish I was that smart. I don't remember what that's from. Mike says the engine gimbals for that. Yes, on Ascent, but after SECO, the engine gimbal doesn't matter. So I wonder, as they're doing those orientations to get ready for, if there's a second engine burn, all that stuff, I think they do have to account for the purging. I'm not positive, but so great question. I'll try to look more into it. Zarkon de Grism just clicked off BFS air brake video, and this was live. Great content. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in here and saying hi, and thank you for the tip. That means a lot. Thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate that. Peter Fator, is it leaning? It did look like it was leaning, but it might have just been, if you have like a wide angle rectilinear lens, if it's slightly tilted up or even like a little bit, there's a lot of, yeah, it can look like it's leaning even though it's not. It's a matter of a weird perspective things, especially with wide angle lenses, gets really bad. Take that from a former full-time professional photographer. Perspective correction. I was really bad at checking my horizon and making it straight, so I know a thing or two about having to correct for perspective. Renau, thank you. Good evening. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you, Renau. I love seeing you in here, and thank you so much for the tip. And Atticus Wilk, how many hours do I have in KSP? And thank you for the really generous tip. I have well over 2,000 now. I had played it for like 2 years without using Steam. Like I just downloaded it directly from kerbalispaceprogram.com. Didn't know that the Steam client would keep track of your hours. And at that point, I had spent probably at least 1,000 hours. I think now using Steam, I'm probably over 1,500 or something. So well over 2,000. Why don't they need to do a circularization burn? That's a really good question, Plain Nerd. So, especially with a lofted trajectory like this, they don't quote me on this. I hope someone does know for sure. If you notice, this was a quite lofted trajectory, and since it had so much payload capacity, you can actually go up. You can get basically to your altitude, and then just kind of hover there and keep enough angle of attack against your orbit to keep you at that altitude, but also still accelerating you until you, until you get up to that orbital velocity. So there, you can do that in Kerbal Space Program too. You can, if you nail your orbit, if you're really good, and you don't even have to do a circularization burn because you can do it all on Ascent. It's something like that. Sorry if I biffed that. Excuse me. Do I think they'll ever recover a second stage? From Robert. Thank you, Robert. I missed that earlier. With Falcon 9, I don't think they'll ever recover a second stage for the Falcon 9. I don't think. I have a video about that I put out last year. Will SpaceX be able to land a second stage or recover a second stage? At the time, I basically said they'll do it with BFR, with BFS, with the Interplanetary Transportation System. That was like the consensus, because the Falcon 9 just doesn't really have enough margin to put up something significant with a lot of extra hardware attached to the second stage. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised on small missions like this with a 1,500 kilogram payload. It really might be... It might make sense for them to actually start playing around with some of that BFS reentry system, using those actuated fins to help control reentry on a broadside and sticking some of those heat shields up. So we might start seeing some like testing phases, which would be really, really, really cool. But the one thing to remember about the Falcon 9, it's really skinny and really tall. It's very fine. Its definition of fineness, or the definition of fineness, is how your ratio from girth to height. And the Falcon 9 is, I think, by definition, one of the skinniest and tallest rockets already. It's already the finest rocket. So if you start putting aerodynamic surfaces and stuff at the top, who knows? I don't know. That's total... I'm making stuff up here, sort of, but I would not expect to see them recover a second stage of it. But I would love to see them try. I wouldn't expect it, but then again, it is SpaceX, so I do kind of expect it. But I also want to see them try. There we go. And thanks for the video. No problem. Kest, thank you very much for saying hi. Pegsy Production 2 Falcon Heavy launch. a second Falcon Heavy launch. Love your videos. Thank you. I would say don't plan on still, like, it'll be a little bit. Definitely not this year. I'm pretty sure that they're even saying that, not this year. But I'm thinking pretty early 2019 will be the second Falcon Heavy launch. But we're starting to see hardware flying around. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I can't wait. Ryan, thank you. Thanks for educating and inspiring us about space. Well, thank you, Ryan. That means a lot. Thank you. You're welcome. I love this stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I love doing this stuff. This is definitely a passion of mine. So, yeah. So thank you. And thank you to the new people joining our Discord server. Thank you, guys. Like DJ. We're now, every time I keep checking for updates on Opportunity, sadly beginning to think the little rover might not recover. Its launch plus Spirit really got me into the space exploration. It and Spirit got you into space exploration a long time ago. Renau, you're right. That is sad. We still haven't heard anything from Opportunity. But yeah, here we go. Stefan South. The sadder thing than Opportunity. I don't know if you guys heard this yet. Hubble Space Telescope is in deep trouble. Yeah. You know that super iconic thing that like created the most stunning images from all of like astronomy ever, basically? The Hubble Space Telescope. Not good. It lost a gyroscope. It has no more spare gyroscopes. It's in a safe mode. It's not serviceable because we do not have a space shuttle capable of servicing it anymore. This is bad. This is very bad. Maybe I'm talking completely out of the end of myself that shouldn't be speaking. Who knows? Maybe like Starliner or Dragon Capsule, although they don't have an airlock system, could maybe, probably not, do an EVA old school style, like Gemini style. Suit up inside the Dragon Capsule, open the hatch terrifyingly, and go out and try to fix Hubble. I doubt that. I do not see that happening, which just means it'd be a huge tragedy and we might have lost Hubble. I just can't imagine being able to get a mission up anytime soon. And don't forget we have, that's just so sad because I really wanted to see it at the same time as James Webb Space Telescope up in the up in space, pointing at the same things and getting cool stereoscopic data, but who knows? Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very, very sad. Yeah. I don't really want to talk about it. Yeah, it's now officially just a piece of not officially, but it is going to become a piece of space junk like everything is. It's really too bad. Riley, when they do the purging, they have two valves on the second stage. They are mirrored on the vehicle so that when they purge it doesn't induce torque. Boom, Riley! Thank you. This is why I love the spaceflight community. I learned something. I learn something every day, and I love it even best when someone pops in with the facts. Thank you, Riley, for educating me. Thank you for educating the 5,700 people watching right now. Boom. I learned something. Thank you, Riley. That's awesome. So if you get to break that down, instead of it just out one side and inducing torque, they go out both sides and they cancel each other's influence, you know. So that's awesome. There we go. Thank you. That's awesome. John C., how long does it take to refurbish a Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy? Well, they just said this was their quickest turnaround on the West Coast of 2 months. They're going to be getting that down even quicker. They still have that goal of turning one around in it's changed between 24 hours and 48 hours. So basically not refurbishing it and literally just reflying it. So hopefully we see that even sooner. I hope that happens very, very, very soon. So the gyro lasted about 6 months longer than we thought it would. Almost pulled the plug on it back in the spring. We'll work through the issues and get back, says Dr. Rachel Osteen about Hubble. Dang. I'm sorry. That's crazy. Yeah, and Renau, shame about Hubble. You're exactly right. No, James Webb is not a proper Hubble replacement. You're right, but data's data. It's not anything in the visible light spectrum, but still, that doesn't matter. Tell SpaceX to launch up a rocket that will deploy a clamp on RCS onto the Hubble. Band-Aid fix. That would be awesome. Okay, so I got to get these pictures up for you guys. Let's see how I'm going to do this. Open. Where's this going to open? Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull up some beautiful imagery that's coming in hot off the presses. Give me a few more seconds. Trying to grab that house one was so cool. Yes, open this. I'm going to pull up a bunch of tabs, get a bunch of them ready. And then I'll give you guys a little show of the... Actually, I could probably just do this like make this into a potential video right now, because I know there's going to be UFO over California, terp to derp, and I will try to take that opportunity to educate people about spaceflight. That's the beautiful thing about my job. You can take people's conspiracies and turn them into enthusiasm. That's always fun. All right, here we go. Ready for some cool pictures. Here we are. Maybe I should do a cold open and treat this and cut it up afterwards. Here we go. I'm going to do that. There was a UFO over California tonight. Or was there? Boom. What's this? UFO? Maybe. Maybe not. UFO? Maybe. Maybe not. UFO? Maybe. Maybe not. UFO? No. You are seeing the Twilight Phenomenon of a SpaceX rocket taking off from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. The rocket took off at, 7:21? And it's one of these guys. It's a SpaceX Falcon 9, one of my all-time favorite rockets. It's a two-stage rocket with 9 Merlin engines on one end and a single vacuum-optimized Merlin engine on the top. And it was delivering the SAOCOM 1A satellite into a polar orbit. Now, in case you don't know, there's rocket launches that happen all the time out at Vandenberg. Like, all the time, every month or so, but you don't always get a chance to see them like this. If you want to go watch a launch, just go to my website, everydayastronaut.com/prelaunch previews, and see for yourself when the next launch is going to be that comes out of Vandenberg Air Force Base. But here's a little bit of the replay from the launch, just so you can see what we're talking about here. So if we scrub around here, we'll see the launch. This just happened. I literally was live streaming this whole thing. Hundreds of thousands of people watched it and were prepared for it. And here we go. So it took off at, where was this? Let's just find it taking off here. Now what you'll see is this vehicle obviously ascends using 1.7 million pounds of thrust. And there it goes. And so obviously us space nerds knew all about this launch. We've been planning and getting ready to watch it because that's what we do. We're very enthusiastic about these things. This thing's really tall, 70 meters tall. That's how many in the America unit? 220 feet tall. It's very tall. This is a big old rocket, putting a rather small payload into space though today. So if you can't tell, I'm a huge nerd. Obviously, I have all these other rockets. But the reason you could see the plume that you saw is something known as the Twilight Phenomenon. That's when the exhaust plume, the rocket took off when it's nighttime here on Earth. So the sun had set, right? 30, 45 minutes later, when the rocket takes off, all of a sudden it gains enough altitude to get into line of sight of the sun. And voila, next thing you know, the exhaust plume from the rocket is also getting hit by the sun, and it's backlit illuminated. So the sunlight is coming from behind, illuminating all the exhaust, and then you on the ground observe the crazy beautiful plume of exhaust that can expand for miles and miles and miles in the vacuum of space. So that's what that is, and it's really exciting. It's a lot of fun. This is the stuff that I live for. I think there was even a shot in the live stream where you get to see the Twilight Phenomenon pretty well, especially in the second stage. Let's see here. So this was a literal replay. I still have it up from the live stream, so if you're going, oh man, it's all... So this, and for those of you wondering, you might have saw little extra puffs, these little spiral things. That is the vehicle orienting itself to land back on land, because SpaceX's rockets can land themselves. That's one of the exciting things about SpaceX and the vehicles they produce. So there you see the thrusts. These are puffs of RCS, so reaction control systems. They're actually these cold nitrogen gas thrusters, and there's 2 pods. Each pod has 4 thrusters. It gives it the ability to roll, pitch, and yaw the vehicle and correct its orientation and point it, make its trajectory go right back, literally hundreds, only 1,500 feet or 500 meters or so away from the launch pad is where this new landing pad. This is the first time SpaceX ever landed on land in California. Really cool mission. So freaking awesome. But what you're seeing there is you're seeing the puffs of cold nitrogen gas. And there, after the cold puffs of nitrogen gas and as there's exhaust coming off, you can actually still see ice particles floating around. The vehicle is experiencing 0 G right now. It is free falling from 132 kilometers. That's 75 or so miles in altitude. It is out in the vacuum of space, but it is falling. As you can tell, 130, and that's going to continue going down, but it's in free fall. So those particles that are any ice buildup, any thrust, anything like that is literally just moving with the vehicle now. So that's what you're seeing there. It's pretty cool. That's a shot looking up the upper stage where the second stage engine and how it held onto the upper stage. On the right, you're seeing the upper stage continue to go into orbit, and the first stage is heading back to land. So if you want to watch this video, I will post a link to the live stream. This happened almost at this exact time last year, sometime around this time last year. There was another Twilight Phenomenon in California. These happen all the time in Florida. I'll try to link some other examples of Twilight Phenomenons. You know, Florida has a lot more rocket launches than we do. But in Florida, it has to be a pre-dawn. The sun has to be before sunrise in order to get a Twilight Phenomenon there. So there you go. That's why... It doesn't have to be a sunrise. It has to be... in order for it to be backlit illuminated, it has to be a sunrise. You'd still see it even at night. If the sun just set, you might still see a twilight phenomenon. But they're normally not as bright and as beautiful as if it was a pre-sunrise. You'll see it both, is what I'm saying. But the ones where it's backlit illuminated are a lot more vibrant and a lot more beautiful from that vantage point. So there you go. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I talk about this stuff all the time. These rockets are really cool and exciting. And they're built right there in basically downtown Los Angeles in Hawthorne, California, like right in the middle of LA. It's really cool. Fun launches to watch, so join me next time. Yeah, that's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Okay, guys, that was just to cut up for later, so you just got to see me record a video. I'm just going to take it, and that way it's up when I'm done, and I can go to bed, and it will process. Sorry for ignoring you guys for a second. So there we go. Harvester of Sorrow, make a new telescope and launch it today launch on Falcon Heavy. That would be awesome. Be really inexpensive, launching-wise at least, but not the satellite itself. Well, I guess we're making a new one. It's called the James Webb Space Telescope. Well, it's not a new one, but it's, yeah. Thank you for that tip, King Nothing 313. When you went to SpaceX presentation, will the BFR crew still hold 100 people, or did that number change with each rendition of BFS? The plan is still to hold up to 100. The internal volume of that thing is insane. It's more than like a A380 aircraft. It's an insane amount of internal pressurized volume even. So I'm still hearing 100. I don't remember if they directly said 100 at the presentation, but yeah, it's still a lot. Yeah. And so probably up to 100. And maybe only 100 for, suborbital launches, maybe going to Mars by the time you factor in life support and all that stuff for that long. Maybe it needs to be longer. I'll make myself big over here. We don't need that over there. Who knows? Maybe it'll be less for going to Mars. I know they say like the first trips to Mars, they wouldn't put near 100 people on it. So yeah, hope that helps. Two Jedi's mom on behalf of the SpaceX Facebook group. Well, awesome. Thank you, Two Jedi's mom. And thanks to the SpaceX Facebook group. I love you guys. How are you? Thank you. And thanks. I'm good friends with Bill Carton. Hey, Bill. Thanks for running and keeping such a tight leash on that Facebook group. You guys do an awesome job. And all the other mods, thank you for keeping a good community. And Reddit. You guys are also very good at keeping the spaceflight community, period. I don't care where you are, if you're on NASA spaceflight forums or if you're in our Discord channel, if you're on Reddit, wherever. I'm amazed by the spaceflight community. You guys are, I'll start crying if I think about it too much because people are so friendly and wanting to help other people learn, wanting to help everyone grow, and very encouraging. And we're all cheering for each other. That's what's so cool. I love that. Ooh, that's the stuff that makes me want to cry. Like cheering for other rocket companies and other countries. Like, I'm a huge fan, like India, the ISRO, their space program is so impressive. So impressive. I need to do a video. You guys ask all the time. I promise I'll do a video about you guys. It's just so cool that we're all in it together. We're all sharing the same boundary. Space is the one border we all share. It's no longer, I say this, you might hear this often, but this is my mantra. Like, you might hate your neighbor, but then if you're, all of a sudden if it's like this neighborhood versus that neighborhood, you'd be like, oh, they're in my neighborhood. I love them. And then all of a sudden it's like the next city over, you're like, oh, screw those people over there in Dinkletown or whatever. We're over here and we're all together, right, guys? And then all of a sudden it's like this state versus that state if you're in the United States. You'll be like, oh, screw Illinois. And then all of a sudden it's like, but America, and then you go like to the country level, go America, and like all of a sudden now you love Illinois. And then you take that whole thing and you go, yeah, go Earth. Go humans. Like, that's, to me, that's what spaceflight is. That's the stuff I get excited about, is us coming together and exploring for the sake of humanity. Yes! I love it! That's why I am obsessed with this stuff. That's why. And that might be like the most hippy-dippy, like, peaceful thing, but it is true. It's just like, can you imagine when we start having people living on Mars? Then we can be like, Martians versus Earthlings, and then we can go into some Star Wars stuff and whatever, and then my whole dream's shattered. But in the meantime, we can peacefully explore together. I don't know. John C., what's the difference between the Merlin and the Raptor engines? Also, do you know what is planned for the future thrust? Yes, the primary difference between the Merlin and Raptor, the biggest difference is that the Merlin engine uses RP1, which is rocket propellant 1. It's a high-grade, highly refined kerosene. It's the most common rocket fuel. It's been in the first stage of the Saturn V. It's in the Falcon 9 now. The Atlas V uses it in its first stage. It's a really, really, really common propellant. But the Raptor engine uses methane, liquid methane. And this has actually never been used on an orbital rocket before. And not only is SpaceX working on a methane rocket engine, so is Blue Origin simultaneously. They're both building very impressive, very high-tech, very next-generation rocket engines that both burn methane. Very cool. The Raptor engine will have one of the highest internal pressures, I believe the highest chamber pressure, the combustion pressure of any rocket at 300 bar, which is 300 atmospheres. That's a lot more. That's like 3 times higher combustion chamber pressure than the Merlin engine. So it's a lot higher pressure. It actually has a lot higher efficiency as well. So its specific impulse is higher. Methane burns really clean. It will literally like clean the engine as it burns, which is the exact opposite of kerosene. When you burn kerosene, it like is the sootiest, has a lot of byproduct of soot, and it can coke up like all the internals of the engine basically. So yeah, that's the main difference. I think they might look very similar. There's a good chance one of the last 3 times I was at SpaceX, I may have been standing right next to a Raptor engine, and I just don't know it because I don't know how to spot the differences, because they might look very, very, very similar because they're very similar in size. So yeah, and the thrust will be higher yet with the thing with the Raptor. Sorry, I was trying to read and talk at the same time. Not working out so well for me. Oh, boom. John Krause. Nailed it, of course. Yep, I want to see this. I'm going to pull this up for you guys. This is my friend John Krause. Awesome photographer. He already nailed an image. Where did that go? It just disappeared on me. Over here? Haha. Look at this. Here we go. That's cool. John, good work as always, my friend. Look at that. That's really pretty. That is just even this. Forget the rocket stuff in here. This is a gorgeous picture anyway. But then you add that. That is so pretty. I can't wait. There's going to be some great images from tonight, guys. Hold on to your butts because it's going to get pretty. Oh, man. Yeah, so boom. Next launch from SpaceX isn't until late November. Do you know if this is because of pad upgrades, maybe a test flight prep, or just down to scheduling? David Cowdery, that's a good question, David. I do not know why that would be. Just a gap in their manifest, unfortunately. So hopefully this got everyone's fix for a few weeks. Not only are they going to be launching in November, Rocket Lab hopefully is launching in November too with their It's Business Time, which I can't wait for. Yeah, I that's the launch that I will not miss. I cannot wait. Do I have a source for the Hubble gyroscope? Yes. Let me try to find that in our Discord channel here. I believe it's who was it that's talking about it? Discord, can you guys help me find that source? There we go. Dr. I said Rachel earlier. I think it's Rochelle Ostin at Rochelle Ostin. Maybe not Rachel. I don't know. Sorry. I can't see it. But yeah. Here, I'll pull this up too. I'm turning into like a news. Sorry, I just spit all over. Turning into like a live news show all about space. So there we go. Yeah. Not really. So This is the source that I have. I don't know beyond that. I guess that's not an official source. I don't believe they work for NASA. That's the source. I don't know if that's good enough for me, but I don't want to start rumors here, so I shouldn't have started a rumor here. Bad Discord. Yeah. No, just kidding. We'll wait until we get official confirmation on things like that, but there we go. Boom. Equin, thank you. Hunter, fairings. No fairings today. I don't know why. Maybe the ship wasn't ready. I'm sad. I really wanted a fairing because I want to get that video out. I shot a video like 3 months ago explaining how they did catch a fairing. Have it all shot. Have it basically all edited. All I have to do is drop in the clips and teach you guys how they recover fairings. I guess it's just gonna sit in the books for a little bit. I will have a video coming out this week that's already done. I have another one in the books, and I also have a really exciting video to show you guys in about a week and a half after a certain secret trip happens. I can't wait. So, yeah. And T-Town Sin, where can I send pics? Good question. If you're in our Discord channel, pop it into Discord. Otherwise, look for me on Twitter. Yeah, I'm actually about to wrap up, but I'll definitely be sure and check it out on Twitter, though. Seth says maybe they listened to on the podcast this week on Our Ludicrous Future. I talk about how cool it would be if they had 4 massive drones that launched from a ship, went out, carried a net that could be like a kilometer wide, and then catch that fairing and all autonomously fly it back. That won't happen, but it would be really cool to see. So yeah, maybe they're just testing that out. Maybe like, screw Mr. Steven. Time to get those drones going. I'm sure that they are not doing that. SP1 Kesh Shreds. Is the Raptor engine more efficient than a Merlin engine? If so, could they use it for the second stage of the Falcon 9? Funny you ask. Number 1, yes, it is more efficient. It has a higher specific impulse, would actually make for an excellent upper stage choice for a Falcon 9. As a matter of fact, it's such a good choice for the upper stage that the Air Force actually paid millions of dollars to SpaceX to help development of the Raptor engine to potentially be an upper stage for the Falcon 9. And I'm sorry, guys, I promise someday I won't be coughing, and it will be a glorious day. But yeah, so the Air Force actually helped pay for the development of the Raptor as a use in the upper stage of the Falcon 9. I believe it all got pushed into, it's not worth it. It's not worth tweaking. The tanks need to be larger for methane. I just can't imagine they can stretch the Falcon 9, so they're not going to cut down the fuselage of the first stage to stretch the second stage to allow for a Raptor engine and blah, blah, blah. So yes, it would be a great choice, but it's probably just not worth it. They might as well just get BFR online and start making more monies. So there we go. I'm gonna cut, guys, so that I can snip up this video, get other portions of this video up online. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Friendly reminder again, if you guys want, check out my web store. It's getting updated. There's gonna be some hot stuff up on there soon. Some really hot stuff up. Like, I don't know how soon, but I can't wait to show you. everydayastronaut.com/shop. You guys can pick up some shirts, hats, mugs, prints. Pictures of my original pictures of rocket launches, if you guys want some of those, like Falcon Heavy, SES-10, something like that. Check it out. Some of my old Instagram pictures. Yeah, if you want a cool shirt for yourself, now you know where to get one. Our best seller now, guys, is this F1 shirt, by the way. This is a shirt that I put up this year, and it's already like my #1 selling shirt ever. So if you guys want this cool shirt, I'll do more like this. I have a whole cool series coming out. Check it out. everydayastronaut.com/shop. If you also want to help support what I do, please go to patreon.com/everydayastronaut. That means a lot. That's the fuel that gets me to better equipment and going off to rocket launches and doing all the cool stuff that I can bring to you guys. So sincerely, thank you to all the Patreons. You patrons are amazing. I'll cry if I think about it too much. I am just floored. So, yeah, so consider doing control those rumors, says Ariel. You're right. We don't know about the Hubble. We'll hopefully learn more. Hopefully I'm not rumor mongering too much. That would be bad. I don't like doing that. Cite your sources. So boom. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. If you're really, please, right now, get on the internet, wherever that is. Find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. It's going to be a really exciting week for me. You'll see why really soon. Everyday Astronaut, you can find me. Just search Everyday Astronaut on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever. It's going to be a really, really, really cool, action-packed week for me. So I hope you guys are tuned in there. Say hi. Yeah, I think that's my whole rant there. I think I did everything. Well, that's going to do it for me. Thank you, guys. Thank you, David S. Got caught up studying and forgot to tune in. Just want to stop by and say howdy. Well, thank you, David. You caught me just in time. Thank you so much for your tip. And thanks to everyone else that tipped. Thank you to the patrons. Thank you for those that buy merch. Thank you for those that tell your friends to come say hi and ask questions. I hope you guys have a great week. So thank you so much. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, everybody.